Hey, everybody, and welcome to Comics and Cinema. I'm your host, Alex Klein, and today we have a very special guest. Obviously, we've had guests in the past, sure, with the podcast, but this is our first guest on the live stream. It is pre-recorded, but I'm counting it as the first guest. We have the Jaylynn here. Jaylynn, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and to be the first one.
Yes. And what's the special occasion, you might ask? Well, if you looked at the title or the thumbnail, you're going to know we're here talking about, I keep calling it Harry Potter, but we're here to talk about Fantastic Beasts, the new movie that came out last week. Super excited to dive into this with you. But before we do so, a little something dropped today. So for those of you watching this as it premieres, it'll have been out for a day, but to us, it is basically brand new. The new Thor trailer dropped. Jaylynn got the scoop. She passed it on to us, and now we're all better for it. So, Jaylynn, what did you think of this new Thor trailer?
Yeah, it looks bonkers. I mean, I can't tell you what this movie's about. This trailer didn't really give you anything on the plot, what's happening, but it looks super cool. I'm glad that they showed the Guardians in the trailer. I didn't know if they were going to do that or not. But I thought that was cool. Jane at the end, she looked awesome. Her muscles, like, dang girl, what's your workout routine? I need that.
How much does she bench?
Right?
That's crazy.
So I'm excited for it. I can't wait till July. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it was honestly like the trailer that that's the type of trailer that I like. I don't need, there were people, I was listening to, I think it was probably Phase Zero, and I know we love those guys. They're great. But they drill down to the bottom of the well to try and get as much speculation and stuff out of things. And they were talking about, when is this new Thor trailer coming? Like, all we need is this, that, and the other. And I was like, honestly, I'm okay with no trailer. Like, I like the idea that Marvel is to a point now where they don't need a trailer to get you to come to the movie. You're going to go see it. But they did drop it, and this is what I would have wanted. Short. I think it was only a minute long. It really doesn't show much other than Thor is coming into his own. He's realizing he wants to relax, though we know that's not going to last. And yes, I agree with you. I thought the Guardians were great. I think this was my favorite look of Chris Pratt so far. I'm not a huge fan of Star-Lord as a character, and so just seeing him this way, I was like, okay, I like this. And that bit between him and Thor, where Thor just keeps following his eyes, I died laughing on both times I watched the trailer, which doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Jane Foster as Thor is one of my favorite characters, and which is funny because she's so new. She's only been around since like 2014, but. And we were just talking about this, but when that hammer started coming in the sky, I was like, they're going to show her, aren't they, in this trailer? And there she was. But, she's got her helmet on, so you can't really see her face. Maybe general audience would be like, who is this person? But I hope we don't see any more about this. And then I hope all of this isn't even in the movie. I hope we get even more stuff. We also got a little peek at the Greek gods. I think we got to see Zeus there for a little bit too, which is really exciting, which means Hercules is probably not far away, who is another great Marvel character. But yeah, I agree with you. It's not much to go off of, but I like that. We saw it, we're excited, and now we can get back to focusing on Doctor Strange, or in this case, Fantastic Beasts.
Yes.
So with that, we are going to devote our whole episode tonight to Fantastic Beasts, just because the Marvel Unlimited comics did come out. I read through them, but I didn't want to take away any moments of time for us tonight because this is a big movie. I think it started out maybe not as a big movie, and I say that because I only saw one review, which was from IGN, and they reviewed it very poorly. They said it was terrible, basically. They gave it a 4 out of 10. And so going into this movie, I was like, my expectations were pretty low. I'm just a sucker for Harry Potter, though, and I know we're going to get into that as we do this, and we'll probably need to have you on for a more of the old Harry Potter stuff breakdown, too. But there's just something magical about the Wizarding world, and just being there, even if the movie is, like, this isn't a 10 out of 10 movie, but even just being there in it, you feel that magic while you're watching it. Did you feel that same way?
I did. There was moments I got goosebumps because it brought me back to like my first experiences watching Harry Potter for the first time on the big screen. And it wasn't always necessarily when the Harry Potter theme came on. It was just when they kind of reference, little things from, the world we know. And this movie, it just felt more magical compared to the other two Fantastic Beasts to me. Like this one felt more like it was in the Harry Potter world compared to the other two.
Yeah, and that's something I guess we can start talking about it now because it's one of the there are many elephants in the room with this movie, but I think one of the bigger ones is, and we'll save the big conversation for the end of where is this all going. But I totally agree with you because I sped watched the first one because I had a very small window of time before our showing, so I watched snippets and chunks of the first movie, which I think that that was my favorite. I don't know if that's still the same. But I love that movie. And then I rewatched the second one because I'd only seen that one time in theaters. And it was funny because I was like, it must have been because I didn't like it. And then I went to rate it after the movie and I'd given it an 8. And I was like, oh, I guess I did really like it. Why didn't I watch it more? And when I was watching it, I was like, this movie's actually pretty good. I mean, it's got some bits and pieces, and I think there's something to be said about all three of these movies being kind of dark and not like evil dark, but just like the color palette is black and gray for a lot of the movie, which again, it's the 1920s, but I liked it and I enjoyed it. And so I was curious about, where would this one stand? And we'll get to that too, but it's a piece of it for sure. I definitely felt the same thing. I felt like this one, if you were like, I just want to feel something about Harry Potter, you're going to get that more in this one than you would in the other two.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Completely agree. And I can't even remember seeing the second one in the theater. Like it just seems like so long ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that they were on HBO so I could do a rewatch before this third one. Cause I'm like, what even happened in 2? Like, did I even see that movie? Like...
It was great. It was funny too. Cause so like Lisa and I went and saw it and I was asking her, hey, do you want to rewatch some of these? And she was like, no, I don't. She's not as big on the rewatches as obviously, I've been trained with the Marvel stuff, which I'm sure you have too. And I was like, yeah, you probably should. And she said this, and it's funny because, it was true. She goes, they're just going to say some bits in the movie anyway that like catch you up. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. But then when I watched that movie, I was like, Credence is a Dumbledore? I completely forgot about that. And because as the movie was going along, they're talking about, the whole bloodline thing. And I was like, that's right. He's a Lestrange. And then that whole thing happened. I was like, oh, wait, he's not. So it almost felt like I was watching it for the first time. But that was also one of my gripes with the second movie was I was like, that was really confusing. Like mentally trying to follow him and Yosef of like, who is who and what's going on. But it was nice. And thank you to HBO for having those on HBO Max so soon too. That made it great. So let's dive in. The first thing I wanted to go over, and I've got a bunch of great character posters that I pulled. Let's break down all of these characters because this movie, and I think the trailers kind of allude to it too, of like, this is Dumbledore's army. And I'll say to all of you out there as well, we're talking full spoilers for this. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. And to those of you in the comments, again, we don't have those comments to monitor, so maybe I'll be listening in tomorrow night to put some comments in. But if not, feel free to talk amongst yourselves. But so let's break down some of these characters, and I guess let's call out too. So it's directed by David Yates, which is huge, honestly, because I was at the point of, he's still doing it. Like he's still doing these movies, and I forgot I was reading some review, and they're like, "Yeah, he did basically all the Harry Potters." And I was like, "That's right," because you got Chris Columbus for the first 2, and then Alfonso Cuarón for 3, which is one of the reasons why it's probably the best one.
Same here.
But then it's like David Yates, and he's done all of the Fantastic Beasts as well, which again, super cool. Screenplay by J.K. and though I think some of us would wish it was. Just kidding. But yeah, that was funny too. I was thinking about that as I was going in because Lisa had asked, "Is J.K. Rowling doing these?" And I was like, "I think she is." But there's elephant in the room number 2. I mean, you've got her with all of her anti-trans comments that she's had. Which when I saw, you see the credits roll, and it was like, whatever, like. I wonder how much they wanted to distance themselves from her, right? But it's so hard because you can't. because
She created the world,
she
so it's
created the world,
hard.
and it's a pretty cool world. And yeah, and even in this one, this is to this movie's credit, this movie dives into Dumbledore's relationship with Grindelwald and really puts that in the forefront of the movie more so than any of the other movies did. I feel like a few of them maybe dropped hints. Maybe we got like 2 hint drops in the book, but it took JK to, publicly, because, and I'd always said at the time, her popularity was waning, so she had to come up with something.
She had to make a
But
story up.
right, she's like, oh yeah, Dumbledore's gay. And it was like, oh, now everyone, the news is going crazy. But I really thought that was one of the stronger pieces in this movie.
I agree.
And maybe that's where we start too, is with our Grindelwald himself. So there he is. Oops, wrong one. Sorry.
There's so many of them.
Yeah, we got it. Hang on. Here we go. Oh, no, wrong one. Sorry, guys. Hold on. I'll get to it. There it is.
There's the current one for now.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's been one of my favorite jokes. I'm trying to remember. There was it's almost like the Defense Against the Dark Arts position,
right?
Right? Every year it's just a new person taking over the mantle. Though, if Warner Brothers is listening, keep Mads Mikkelsen.
He did a great job.
He was awesome, and yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think if he's done another role where he plays a gay man, but I can't think of it. What was bringing me to his performance was, if you've seen this movie called Another Round, where he it's like him and his teacher buddies, and they find this, it's like a theory that basically humans are meant to be on it's like 0.3% alcohol, that like they operate at the optimum speed when they're at that amount, and so they all make a pact to be that drunk throughout the day. And they do, all their lives improve. And he becomes this like really kind of fun-loving guy. And you could kind of see that. There's even a scene in this movie. There's a scene at the end of that movie when he's with his classmate, or the kids that graduate at the end of the year, and he's their teacher. They all like lug him up in the sky, and he's like doing this. And so when he did that in the movie, I was like, oh, he's right there. But I just thought he did phenomenal. And from the opening scene, from him being in the diner, and I don't even, that's where the questions start too, though. I don't know what that was. Was that like a dream of Dumbledore?
I don't know, or like a parallel universe? Like, are we combining Marvel and Harry Potter now? Like going into multiverse? Because they kind of did that at the end too, with their little like duel. How like
that felt like the Mirrorverse.
Yeah, and I'm like, what's happening? Like, how powerful are these two that they could just like go somewhere else and duel it out, or go to a diner? And
Aberforth didn't even go with them.
Yeah,
and he was part of it. It was a triangle.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird, but
a lot of belief needs to be suspended for this movie.
Yeah, that diner scene, you can feel their chemistry. I mean, you could feel their chemistry throughout this whole movie whenever they're in a scene together, but you could feel it, and you could feel the love that they still have for each other.
Yeah.
And I was curious if they were ever going to portray that in these movies, or how they were going to portray it, because what we know from Harry Potter is that they were together but broke up, I guess you could say, at some point. And so I was curious to see how they were going to do that in these movies. And I really liked how they portrayed it in this one.
It was enough in the sense that, like, to anybody who was wondering, oh, is he really gay? Like, now we know, for sure it's in the canon. But what I want more of is, like you said, that backstory about the why. We get a couple of hints and tidbits about what happened to them, but we know at this point, and that's kind of the explanation, which was given in the last movie too, that they've got this thing that's like an unbreakable vow almost, that they've agreed to. It's like a blood pact?
Like a blood oath or something like that.
And it's basically them, cutting each other's hands and making a shake on it to say that they won't fight each other. And that's what's been the crux of why Dumbledore hasn't intervened in any of this stuff with Grindelwald. And I liked that, because we get to the spot where it was teased in the last one, and that scene when what was his name? Is his name Teddy, the Niffler?
Yeah, I think so.
When he steals the thing in the second movie, I was like, yes, awesome, like, got it. But then they don't show much more than that, and so it was
Mm-mm.
really cool in this that we get that explanation. We get to see what happens when he's got the like chain on his wrist and it's like ripping him apart almost. Just thinking, which was weird, right? He just a thought.
Just the thought. Well,
But in the last movie,
yeah.
he's like, "I need you to move on Grindelwald," and it's like, but isn't that you thinking it right now too?
I guess maybe he wasn't wearing it at that moment when he
You're
said
right. He
that.
wasn't.
So I don't
Grindelwald
know.
was at that point in time.
Yeah.
So maybe it's whoever wields it. So then what? Buried in the ground, and so no one has to. Like I was like, it's the chain that's the problem. Just get rid of it.
Yeah, just don't wear the chain.
Send it to Borgin and Burks. I'm sure they'll keep it in the back, and it'll be fine. But yeah, so we get to see all of that, and we learn that and let's just move into that too. So Dumbledore himself, we get the impeccable Jude Law, and this picture honestly doesn't even do him justice. That's a good looking beard. He looks even better in the movie. He is amazing in this film, and it goes back to another kind of bugaboo about the movie, which is who is this movie about? Because the title is Fantastic Beasts, which alludes to it should be about the animals. But okay, if it's not about the animals, it should be about Newt. Okay, but fine. But it says Dumbledore also in the title, so it should be about Dumbledore. That's fine. But this is also very much a team-up movie. This felt a lot like a ragtag Avengers in a sense. And you'll see that as we go into this, because I've got a ton of different character posters. You know how they love to do that whenever there's a team-up movie. So but I thought he was great. He was the same as he always is. He really embodied that he's a strong leader. He knows how to give praise when needed. He's got schemes on schemes that he won't share with anybody. Yet the chillin bows to him. So it's like he is Dumbledore. He's an enigma. You can never figure out what's going on with him. He just casually is like, all right, everyone leave the lunchroom. I'm about to craft a map of Bhutan and stuff. And it's like we never got to see him do any of that. And during Harry Potter's time, he must have been tired. He was a lot old.
Yeah, he was old by then. He didn't want to do all that stuff.
So what did you think of Jude? I mean, he was in the second one, and was he in the first?
No, I don't think so. Or he might have showed up at like the very end.
Something
maybe.
Like that. But this is the
they
first
all
time
blend
it felt like
together.
he was fully in the film.
Yeah, this one he was like a main character in. But I really liked him in this. I thought he was a really good Dumbledore. I've seen a lot of people say that why is Dumbledore so young looking now because of the wizard timeline. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't follow the Marvel timeline. So me trying to figure out a wizard's timeline, like I'm just going to go with it.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, I imagine he either sees a ghost or something that scares him so bad that his hair turns white.
Right.
And then at some point, he also stops caring about himself so that he lets his beard grow. He lets his hair grow. But I mean, at this point, because he's what, 400? Not in this movie, but like that's how old he is by the end of Harry Potter.
I think so, yeah, something like that.
So in this,
400, 500 years old. So
even in this movie, he looks younger, but he's still, he doesn't look a day over 375. I think that was what Jacob says to Flamel. I love that.
I know, and I'm like,
look a day over 375.
That was my least favorite part of the second one was Nicholas Flamel. I'm like, no, this guy is creepy and weird. He doesn't need to be in this movie.
He had the Arthur Harrow hair.
He did. Yes.
Just really bad. But I noticed something because, and we'll get to her in a second. I have possibly a new favorite character in the wizarding world, who also happened to be apparently in the second movie. And then when I looked into it, she's the one that tells Flamel that he needs to go help. He's got a book opened up. And I think she probably has one line, and we could have certainly not even told what her accent was in it because, man, I'm talking about Lally Hicks.
Okay.
Who I thought she was phenomenal. But yeah, so I don't even know where we were going on that tangent.
I think we were talking about Dumbledore. I don't know.
Yeah, I think, look, as long as we can get Jude Law doing what he's doing, I'm okay with that.
He was good. I think just he had great chemistry with like everyone in this movie. I think my favorite part of him was at the end when they're dueling and they like both place their hands on each other's hearts.
Oh,
yes. I was just like, can I go into the screen with you guys. Like, I need to witness this like live in front of my face, like in person. Like that was just, that was my favorite part of the whole movie, was just that little moment where they don't want to hurt each other.
And doesn't he say something to him like, there won't be anyone else who loves you?
Yeah.
Something where I was like, dude, you're digging the nail in the coffin.
He is. And then that made me think of Harry Potter. So in Harry Potter, Grindelwald gets arrested and he's in jail for like 50 years. So I hope we get to see that, like that moment. I hope that comes up in the next movie or something. But in Harry Potter, Voldemort goes to Grindelwald to get the Elder Wand, or to get information on the Elder Wand. And he kills him because he doesn't give up Dumbledore, because Dumbledore has the wand. And I'm like, no, but you still love him, because if you didn't, you would have given him up because you wouldn't have cared. But you did not tell Voldemort that Dumbledore had the Elder Wand. So
that was a beautiful piece of canon too, was just the fact that he had the Elder Wand the entire movie. Like, just seeing that wand was just, it was like, what it was, but you're like, oh, that's just. Yeah,
and I like that they didn't say it. Like, they never said that he has the Elder Wand, but we know what that is because of Harry Potter and stuff. So I like that little touch.
That was, man, that whole, and we'll get to that fight, because there's a lot that happens in that last 20 minutes of the movie that makes up for quite a bit of the other stuff. So Dumbledore has now decided, it's like two-part basically, and I guess we'll talk about the other piece, which is we do actually open this movie up with we close the movie and open the movie with Dumbledore. Mm-hmm. This is a Fantastic Beasts movie. Like, the first person you see is Dumbledore, but the next scene is Newt helping a giant horse deer called a Chillin. That is not it does not spell how it's pronounced, right?
No.
It's like Qillin, so it almost sounds, isn't that like that's almost Chinese, of the QI being chi. But this Chillin that is birthing a baby, and he gets the baby all good, and all of a sudden, and Jaylynn, every single time I saw the green, I just assumed it was Avada Kedavra.
I did too.
And I'm like,
I did too.
There's a special place in hell for somebody who Avada Kedavra is an animal.
Yes.
And especially a Fantastic Beast, because this was one. And then to see, what I loved though was that Credence had, and so maybe we'll move this into a conversation about him. So, oh shoot, wrong one. Hang on.
They look the same. Maybe I think he's more Snape's kid than Dumbledore's kid.
I put that in because Lisa was like, "Is that Snape?" And I was like, "No, it's not Snape." But somehow we now know how much time has passed because he had a buzzed head.
Right.
Now he's got really long hair. But he's the one he looked like a badass, though. I will say that. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was creepy. He was scary. But the minute, and it took. Good for the Chillin. It took like 3 shots, I feel like, for it to go down, and it still didn't die immediately. So is that like a faulty Avada Kedavra? I don't know. I certainly don't care, because it broke my heart. Lisa covered her eyes.
I was crying, but I cry at all animal deaths, real or not real. So,
and that one was so tough, because you've got the death of the mother, and then a kidnapping.
Yeah.
And then the death of the kidnapped.
Yeah.
And then the resurrection of the kidnapped as a zombie. So, I mean, great.
There are so many emotions.
And Mads did such a good job of being just so level-headed about everything, incredibly logical, and then he'd just slit the throat, or he'd just kill somebody. And it was like, dude's scary. He's way scary. I thought he was scarier than Johnny Depp, because almost Johnny Depp, I thought, was like, with the white hair and the different eye, was like, is he trying to be a little bit funny? Like, it was almost comical.
More comical.
They didn't do that in this one. Do you know why? Is that a thing?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm guessing Grindelwald can just change his appearance. Like, I don't know. I feel like wizards can just do whatever they want. Right. I wonder if they just didn't want to make him be like Johnny Depp, like if they were just trying to stay clear of that for whatever reason. If that's why, or maybe Mads was just like, I ain't doing that. If you want me to be Grindelwald, it's gonna be me.
What is this? Like, he looks at the photo. You want me to look like this?
And I don't know. I feel like Johnny Depp is just one of those actors that likes weird makeup and stuff, and so he could have, just requested that styling. But I don't know. It didn't make him look scary to me with the white hair and the white face and the different colored eyes. Like if I would have met him and on the street, I'd be like, "Are you really a dark wizard?" Like, I don't know.
I don't know if you should say that to him out loud though.
Yeah. Then he'd just be like, "All right, you're dead." He would just kill you right
Colin
then.
Farrell was scarier.
Yeah, I thought so too. Just his menacing way that he would that he just walked about. I don't know. I don't know if Depp would have been in this if they would have changed his look or if they would have kept it. I don't know.
Question.
If that would have worked out or if they would have been like, you're going to be clean faced or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they cover him in so much makeup that we don't know it's Johnny Depp anymore.
I know, right?
They're too embarrassed to hire him.
Yeah.
Okay, so so basically the whole purpose of this abduction is that these Chillin are apparently the most pure creature on the planet, and their eyes see into your soul. And so if they look into your soul and they see you're pure of heart, they'll bow to you. If they don't, they won't. And that's it. It's kind of nice. I mean, they don't like, it's not like Ghost Rider.
You don't die or anything.
And then you die. Yeah, exactly. Very chill, right? They're very chilling.
They're just like, oh, nope, you're good, or nope, you're bad. That's
and
it.
that little deer was just the cutest
so cute.
thing.
I wanted to cuddle it.
I know. I'd be curious, would it rank higher than, say, Morris?
Oh, probably yes, just because it has an actual face.
Yeah, that's what I figured. The face is a big thing.
The face does a lot, but Morris is still really cute. So it's like, 1A and 1B.
Yeah, that's fair. So we get to another, again, there's a lot of these, but a question that I would have, maybe you know it and maybe it was unknown, but so he cuts the thing, kills it, the blood bleeds out, and that in that blood, there is a prophecy, so to speak. So almost like not remember all, but like an oculancy, or when you're looking into the pensieve sort of stuff, you can view possible futures, or it might just be the actual future. I think it's a guarantee. And I don't know how did they explain why that is?
Well,
Chillin' blood just
I don't know if he used some sort of magic to then see into the blood. I don't know. I mean, they didn't really explain it, but I know that somehow Dumbledore figured out his plan. And so that's why they came up with having multiple people interact with him to confuse him, because he wouldn't be able to tell the future, because he would see everyone's different plans, but wouldn't know what's real.
Yeah. And I liked that. It was a twist on the typical. I mean, like, it'd be interesting to see if Marvel does something like that with Kang, right? Or like, how do you stop somebody who can see the future? Well, you give them so many different futures that they don't know which one's the right one.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the ragtag bunch. So I'm going to start. I'm just going down the list here, but we've got, I believe it's Bunty, who is her Newt's assistant. She's in the prior films. She is obsessed with him. And it's really sad, honestly, because every single time Newt and it's sad on multiple levels, because every time Newt opens his suitcase, there's a photo there of Tina, and she's kind of looking at him, kind of smiling. He looks kind of sad. He misses her. And then she looks at the photo and she knows that she can never have him. And then I look at the photo and I'm like, where's Tina in this movie? I need more Tina. I feel like Newt in this movie. But yeah, but she's awesome. She's like the best assistant. She cares about the creatures, and we see that in some of the prior films too. But she ends up being an actual integral part of this movie. And we'll skip ahead to the end. So they get to this point at the end where they all have to carry a different briefcase to try and trick them. Did you guess who had the right briefcase?
Well, I was like, is it going to be too obvious that Newt would have the right one? Like, I figured that would have been like the obvious choice, that Newt would get the briefcase with the actual creature.
Right.
I guess I didn't think it would have been the assistant. Like, I thought she'd be the last one to, you would think, to have it, which I guess is probably the perfect person. But just because she wasn't really in this movie all that much. I thought she was like going to turn against them or something. Like
Okay.
I was like, I don't know if she's going to have the real one. Is she going to just give the briefcase up? Like I was like waiting for that moment of her to just go bad, but I'm glad she didn't, that she didn't turn on them, that she was the one who ended up with the briefcase. But I was like kind of expecting a little twist or something.
My guess was, and I loved that scene where she went into and she's like, I need you to make, for my husband, and she's living her fantasy. But I see what you mean, because there are multiple scenes where they linger on her, showing her unrequited desire. That could have been her being like, I'm about to make a decision that's going to kill all these people, or something. Right. Kind of like what Yosef was doing as well, where I saw his thing coming, but then when it happened, I was like, oh, good. Like I was concerned. I thought it was going to be with Jacob, because at first, Dumbledore was like, don't grab that one. And I was like, oh, because that's the right one. But I was like, wait, though, because he goes, also, don't worry about it. You don't have it. You are not the guy. And I was like, oh, he 100% has it, because that's like the Dumbledore way, is making you think that you're okay so that the pressure is off of you. And then, he got caught. And even when he got caught, I was like, wait, they didn't get his box, did he? And I was like, wait, no. There's the one with the scones, and then there's the one with the books. Yeah, they got his box. Okay. And then it didn't even hit me until he's walking. Newt was going up the stairs. I was like, wait, where's Bunty? Oh, she's got the box.
I know, you kind of forget about her, because she's not really involved in that until that whole part of them, going around with all the cases and fighting each other. Like she's not around. You don't see her until that very last moment.
Well, it was a perfect crime, though. Just like you said, she's the lowest on the totem pole. Grindelwald's not thinking about her, so give her the box. But yeah, speaking of, so she was great. Let's jump down to who we just talked about, Mr. Jacob Kowalski.
He was hilarious.
I loved him, not growing up, but like, I don't know if you've ever seen Fanboys or...
I think this is the first thing I know him from.
Really? Did you ever see Take Me Home Tonight? He played like the party guy comedian in like these kind of raunchy comedies for a while. And so when he showed up in this, I was like, oh, okay, nice. Like I always thought he was funny, but he was always a little over the top. And so in this, him being so serious, I grew to like him even more. And so when he showed up on screen, I don't know why, I got really excited. I was just like, there he is. Like, look at him. He's still living his best life after Queenie left him.
Still baking.
I mean, he's clearly sad. But I thought was awesome. There's obviously a question I think people would have. I didn't ever think about it, but of why do they keep pulling this muggle in with the rest of us? But I don't care. I mean,
he's living all of our fantasies of being in the magical world. He gets to live it.
He gets a wand. Which, they kept talking fast. Was that wasn't a real wand?
I don't think so. I think it was just like, hey, here's a wand to fool people, or
kind of like the wooden gun in Other Guys. Yeah, he gives them that gun.
Because he never actually did anything with it. Like he drew the wand out at Grindelwald, like he was going to do something, but that was also Dumbledore playing mind tricks, because he's like, there's going to be an assassination attempt. Yep. Did they know it was going to be them doing the assassination?
But he also stopped the assassination attempt of the poisoning.
Yeah. So there
it was ironic that like the tables turned to see her in class, but then we
needs to come back.
We got to see her in Hogwarts for a bit, which was cool. That scene when Dumbledore was like, stay with her. She's very good with defensive spells. Yeah. And I was just like, oh no.
I can't wait to see him. And then
that scene with the briefcases when she's just, boom, that guy goes in the wall. Boom, all the balls go up in the air. She was just insane.
So good. I'm like, I don't even think, what's his name? Theseus? His brother? Theseus. I was like, he doesn't even need to be here. Like she can handle all this on her own. Like,
see, and I wonder, and I'll pose this to you too, because Lisa was asking, she's like, are they going to get together? And I was like, I don't know. And it's funny because you would think, oh yeah, you bring the female in to, be the romantic interest. I'm wondering, did they bring Theseus into this to be the romantic interest for her because she's so good?
Could be. I mean, he's,
because they show.
I guess he's brokenhearted by losing Lita Lestrange in the
Exactly.
second one. So, I mean, I think they both could use comfort with each other.
They give a couple of knowing glances. They
Mm-hmm.
both apparate together at the
Mm-hmm.
wedding at the end. I think there's maybe a little bit of groundwork that can be said, and I'm happy with that because I loved Theseus in the second movie, which is another great Marvel call out, right? The Ship of Theseus.
I know, right?
But he was great because which again goes back, and I think you maybe mentioned this so we're able to get the head of the Auror office in the UK, but we're not able to get the head of the Auror office in
Right?
America.
America? Like,
Come on,
is America that
but we got a
important
muggle
and crazy that
we got a no
that,
match. We got a baker. We're good.
yeah,
We're gonna be just fine.
yeah. So I'm guessing that just that actress who plays Tita just wasn't available or something. Because I mean, her sister went to the dark side, so you would think she would want to be involved in getting her sister back. She's been along Newt's side kind of this whole time, and now she gets a job, and she's just like, "No, I'll just stay here and take care of this when other auras are involved."
Yeah,
In this big
she's
old
got a little
mission.
explaining to do, which
Yeah.
again I hope we get. But I did Google it, Jaylynn. I literally
Okay.
Googled why is Tina Hardley in Fantastic Beasts, and there's actually an article titled "Why is Tina Hardley in Fantastic Beasts?" And they did attribute it. They said probably because the filming of this, the principal photography was in like 2020. And
Okay.
so there were, all of the delays and movements, maybe her schedule got busy. But the thing they pointed out, which I didn't know, and maybe you don't know either, they do marry. Did you know
Oh,
that?
I do not.
I'm wondering if
No.
that's, and in the comments, feel free to, jump out if you guys know this, but I've only read the Harry Potter books, the
Yeah.
1 through 7. I didn't read any of like Beetle the Bard or any of those things, but it said that they got married, happily married. They had a child, and that child married Luna Lovegood. So like
Okay. You know what? I
it's like
think I did
the
know that.
grandson of them married Luna
Yeah.
Lovegood.
I know, because I mean, randomly JK will come out with random stuff, and I do remember seeing that now.
Then maybe she mentioned it, which
It
is
could be.
so it's like that's the only I feel like this is the only medium where the creator of the medium can just tweet something and it becomes canon, which
Right?
is kind of strange, but
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, so in that piece, let's dive into Queenie because, and I mentioned it to you, something was off about her in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
and you made a great point too that it's probably just the overwhelming amount of evil. I mean, Grindelwald is he's beyond evil, so I could see why. What did I say? Something about it got her right to the roots and it changed her
Yeah.
hair a little bit, something like that.
Something. Her
Is that
hair
what
is
it was?
more white.
It was like her hair was way more white. She
Uh-huh.
looked more gaunt, maybe, and that
Yeah.
would make sense because everyone gets gaunt when they go evil.
Right.
From like Draco too, he kind of had the same thing happen. But it was interesting because I could not get a read on her in this movie.
Mm-mm.
She had very few lines, but she was very subservient to Grindelwald. Anything that he asked, she said. Though, and I knew she was going to do it anyway, but she lied to him about Yosef, which again,
Mm-hmm.
I was not like mad that I knew it, but it's like it was kind of obvious.
Yeah. She doesn't tell him everything that Credence is thinking. So
that's right. Okay.
She, so there's goodness there, but it's more like, well, then why are you with him? If you're just with him because he says he'll let you and Jacob get married, like that's not true. Like that's an evil wizard thing to say. Like he's
and
not going to let you.
It was so nice to see that he immediately used that as an example when he got his power. He's like, yeah, no, changed my mind about all that. We're actually going to just kill him right now.
We're just going to kill all the muggles instead.
And tell me your thoughts on this. If I was Jacob and this was the end of the second movie, at the beginning of this third movie, I might be with somebody else already.
Right.
Because my love of my life goes over to be with the dark side. Probably be it. I don't know if I'd be welcoming them back with open arms the way that he did. I mean, but again, Dumbledore says that I have a full heart, but that's a lie because I always will have a little room for you. That got me.
Oh, that was the perfect line. Like, why didn't she just turn right then? Like, don't go back to him. Like, that was the perfect line to get you to stay.
So to
But
me, that says that maybe they didn't have a lot of material for her,
could
or
be.
didn't they chose to not have a lot of material for her because I mean, they could have easily added a little. Well, it was 2.5 hours, but around her actually plotting. Like again, we kind of picked up the pieces, but it would have been nice for her to have a moment of turmoil alone in her room where we get to see her being like, I can't do this anymore. Because then I'd be more okay with her, getting back together with him. But I was just like, man, and now you guys are all married and happy, and all of that's just water under the bridge. That moment when the guy you went to work for tortured me in public
Right?
on TV.
Like
Yeah,
what?
that's okay. Not a big deal.
No, who cares? Maybe
I'm
they
fine. I mean, I'm
obliviated
fine,
that
honestly.
memory from him. I don't know.
Yeah, so and again, we talked about we mentioned it. I had the Theseus poster up here too. I love his name. That might have been one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Was him and Theseus
Doing the little dance thing.
dancing their way out of the that when he got in and those little creatures showed up. I was like, look, we have not had a lot of creatures in this movie. I swear to God, if these are the only creatures we see and they just attack him and he doesn't do a thing to stop it, and then he just goes, and I was like,
and then starts
yes!
wiggling.
It was so
I don't
good.
know how they filmed the scene so when Theseus is hanging upside down and then Newt comes and he's just like dancing in front of him. Like, how did you film that? Like, I've been like, you got to film us separately and then CGI us in, because I would not have been able to get through those scenes at all, because it was a pretty serious scene. What they were talking about, but he's just wiggling.
And then you've got this giant beast down below that's like literally, and that was the funny thing too. I mean, I get that it's the Wizarding World, but this jail keeper is so confident. He's like, yeah, he's not coming back. Yeah, our jail, when you come to visit your family, you're also gonna die because we're killing everyone. Like, where is that legal? But I guess it was in Germany during the late 20s, so they're right approaching Nazism. So maybe not that surprised, but still, I was just like, that's your classic dungeon with the creature killing everything. It's not a big deal. But yeah, that was cool. Let me see who else I've got. I think that might be it. So we can dive into some. Oh, no, we got one more, a secret. Hey, have you seen Chilling Adventures of Sabrina?
I've seen part of it. I haven't seen like the whole thing yet.
Okay, because I did not know he was in this movie, but we got Faustus Black in here playing Aberforth Dumbledore. I thought he was great. He didn't get a lot to do, but he was exactly as we always thought he was, which is just super gruff and uncaring.
Yeah, and I guess them making Credence be his like long lost son. I'm like, well, that's a twist.
I love that.
But then he made a comment, or maybe it was Albus who made the comment, that there was rumors of a child and stuff. So clearly someone knew that there was a kid out there somewhere.
Yeah, and again, they call it the secrets of Dumbledore, and there's still some questions, but that was a pretty big secret, because I remember, I'm sure you do too, cracking open book 7 and being like, no way, Dumbledore had a brother? Wait, Dumbledore had a sister? Oh, yeah. That was nuts. And then when this happened again on the weekend, I was like, oh, that's right. He had another one? He's got another brother? Who are Dumbledore's parents? Because the Chillin would not be bowing to those people.
No.
But I thought, so I thought that twist of it being Aberforth's kid was great. I think he mentions something about, he says when him and Grindelwald were dating, Aberforth was also seeing somebody. Okay. And I guess maybe they ran away or something like that. Because then when Credence or when, Aurelius talks to him at the end, and he says, did you ever think about me? And he says, every day. And I don't know if that's the thing you say to the kid who might be about to die, or if that's legitimately what he's doing.
Or maybe he was just saying, I thought about having a kid every day. Like, it could have been that. Like, maybe he didn't really know there was a kid. But I don't know. There's a lot of questions just around that little relationship and how they knew about Credence, but then also didn't know about Credence. I don't know. Yeah, it was kind of weird.
That's when the secrets come to bite you.
They do,
like those little creatures in the jail. So Dumbledore explains as well, and so we've gotten all our characters in. We're going to go to the what we liked, what we didn't sort of thing. Dumbledore explains that his sister was an obscurus. Did we know that?
I don't think I did, but again,
I
it could
didn't.
have been one of those one-off,
Read the sentence and not think about it sort of thing.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever really mentioned in the books or anything
Okay.
like that
Because
I can
I was
remember.
curious, and when the whole idea of him being an obscurus, I thought was really cool. I'm like, oh yeah, the embodiment of hate and all this stuff. But at the same
Mhm.
time, it's like, okay, so what are you? You just this giant Dormammu type,
Right.
swirling mist. Okay, cool. But then when he was like, yeah, his sister, I'm like, oh, so it runs in the family. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Like, okay. But then to find out that he basically killed his sister,
Mhm.
by what was it? A spell backfired or something like that,
Mhm.
and um, when that deer shows up at the end, and I know we keep talking about it, but um, I was like, I feel like they're gonna go Dumbledore, but I was like, you can't though, because he just admitted that he killed his sister, and yeah, I get that he didn't mean to, but I just was like, and then it happened, and I was like, wait a second. So I guess,
Mhm.
I mean, but it goes to show you that your heart, you're not made bad by the things you do. It's
Mhm.
by, who you are and the things you do after whatever it is, whatever mistakes you made, how do you,
Mhm.
backpedal and fix them sort of thing. So that part makes sense. But I still was shocked when I'm like, dude, your sister, man, that sucked.
Uh-huh.
Maybe that's why they broke up. If I was Grindelwald, I'd be like, wait, so your brother's having a kid in another country and you just killed your sister?
Right.
And you
I
just made
don't
a
know.
blood pact with me, dude? I
What?
gotta go.
I
Like,
don't know. I guess this just came into my head, but it kind of reminds me of Cap wielding Mjolnir. Like a lot of people are like, well, why is he worthy if he lied about
yep,
knowing about Tony's parents and all this stuff? But Cap's still a really good person and he can wield it. So that's just what it just reminded me of as we were
that's a
talking about
great
it, that
call. It's like
it's
the soul stone, right? Like a
Mhm.
soul. It's the soul that the thing's looking into, and
Mhm.
that soul doesn't have anything to do with what you do. It's just the accumulation of everything you are. And in
Yeah.
that case, yeah, of course you'd bow to old Dumbledore, but
Right.
still,
But
I'd
how
be
do you
like,
not go to Newt? Newt was taking care of you. Like, come on.
exactly. I'm like, go to Newt, and then I thought Newt would have done what Dumbledore did of like, oh no, it can't be me. But then at least
Right.
everyone on live TV knows that, because it seems like everywhere Newt goes, people are like, here's Newt, and
Mhm.
like, ugh, it's this Newt guy. But if this deer bowed to him, like everyone would take him seriously. I feel.
Yeah, and not just someone who likes animals
Yeah, yeah.
and takes care of them.
Missed
So,
opportunity. So yeah, I think another spot I think you enjoyed that I did as well. We got to go back to Hogwarts.
mhm.
We get the dun 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 dun, and we got to
Yep.
go multiple times. We got to go. We got to apparate there.
We
We got
kind
to
of
go to
saw some
Hogsmeade.
Quidditch.
Yes, and it was snowing. We got
Yeah,
the classic snowing in Hogsmeade. It's always snowing in Hogsmeade.
it is.
But okay, what do you think of all that?
I, yeah, one of my favorite parts. I mean, just going back there, it just, brings back all those memories of reading the books the first time, seeing the movies the first time, just the magic of it, the why am I not living here right now? Like, I want to go to Hogwarts.
Right.
But I love that they do bring you back to that world to just give that tie in to Harry Potter. And I loved seeing Jacob interact with students. Like,
Yes.
that was
That
hilarious. But then
all
I'm
you need to
also
know
like,
about Gryffindor and Slytherin in one
right?
scene.
But then I'm also like, how did they get Jacob there? Because we've always known that muggles can't see Hogwarts. Like, if they get too close, like a danger sign pops up or something like that.
Right.
So how,
Maybe he apparated in there,
or
and
some,
I
I don't know,
guess,
or Dumbledore did some sort of trick that let him in. But I'm
yeah,
like, Jacob's just living all of our lives that we want to live by
yeah.
being in Hogwarts and eating all the food and
The roach
having
candy.
fun. The roach candy from those
The
dang
Slytherin kids were
Slytherins.
so, we were like, ugh. Also, okay, did you get chills? I got chills when Newt guessed the place, and he
Yes.
goes, "Yes, 10 points to Hufflepuff." And I
Yes.
was
I was
just
like,
like, "Oh
yay,
yes!"
Hufflepuff.
Oh, like, oh, then he said something else too. But I was just like, that's just so Dumbledore, and I was just
Hmm.
like, this is. I love that he's there. He's actually he's the headmaster, right? Or is he a teacher?
No, I think he's just the teacher. I think he's just the defense against the dark arts,
okay.
which I do like that they also brought in the Bogart. I think that was more the second one, but how they, they still tied in, just little things that we've seen from.
Did they have the Bogart in this one, or are you just talking about the last one?
I think it was just the last one when they actually showed him being like the professor.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that scene was devastating because I mean, you knew it the second time watching it, but when it's just like the twirling, silk in the sky, and it's like, oh, that's just so depressing. But even then, I was like, yeah, I can't believe like her son died. Or, like I couldn't remember what it was that happened because it was so confusing.
Yeah,
but yeah, that was really sad. And that brings us to I forgot we got one more. Where is he? Yeah. Mr. Barely in the movie, Mr. Yusuf.
Yeah, I know.
So he's the step brother of Lita Lestrange, and that's it. He has no blood relation to the Lestranges, yet he keeps claiming that he does, which is fine. I get it. I mean, he's super frustrated about everything because his mom died and all that stuff, but he's like very quickly, I'm just going to be Team Grindelwald. And again, Grindelwald's like,
okay,
you got to be lying. And he's like, no. And Queenie? No. Okay, come on in. And
I guess it's just kind of like Snape infiltrating Voldemort's army. I mean, I guess these evil wizards are very...
Grindelwald is not Voldemort, so maybe he doesn't know it and doesn't sense it. He's got a lot He's got an election to worry about.
He needs to be prime minister to...
Yes, exactly. But yeah, and he even gets to that point where, and I thought this is when we're going to be like, okay, here he is. He's about to be tested. Grindelwald tells him and says, I need you to prove your loyalty. But then we never see that happen.
No.
He ends up going against them at the very end, which was fine. But again, very light role. He wasn't in it very much.
Yeah, and Grindelwald doesn't really acknowledge the betrayal, I guess, if you want to call it that. Like
he never does.
He's just like, okay.
They don't have time for that. And that's where I think we can dive into what I think is probably the meatiest part of this movie, which is essentially the plot, which again, it seems weird to say it that way, but there's a lot going on in this movie and things kind of bounce back and forth and you get lost at Hogwarts and you forget about stuff. But essentially, he is absolved of all of his horrible crimes by, you said, the prime minister. I don't think we ever got what his actual title was. Because what? The prime minister's in Berlin?
Berlin, yeah.
Wouldn't it be, is that where the Wizarding World capital is?
Maybe. I don't know. They didn't really explain why it's this guy. I guess maybe just his election was up, so that's why they went there.
But what's the lady in the first movie who's the one who
I think she was just
Graves works for her. She works at the Auror office in America, and she's the boss. Yeah. Same thing with what's his face, the Minister of Magic in the Harry Potter movie.
Yeah, Cornelius Fudge.
Yes, I assumed this guy was just the Cornelius Fudge of Berlin, but then he starts talking about, well, we've got an election coming up with, these two candidates. And I was like, okay, but so is that for like Berlin's election? Or I guess it's for the whole Wizarding World.
Because it showed everyone kind of voting.
Right.
Later, like it pans to America and then to all the other different countries that they showed of them all voting. So it didn't make sense. I'm like, I guess
the thought behind it did. And that is that there's an election coming up and Grindelwald is trying to get as much power as he can. And hats off to, I guess it wasn't J.K. It was there's another writer in it, and I've got it up here. It's Steve Kloves, who I'm going to double check because I saw something about how, no, he's just done a lot of the other Harry Potter movies. He also did The Amazing Spider-Man, but this is a very politically timely topic of a bad guy deciding to try and rig an election to become the leader of the world, which was like, wow. I mean, it was still kind of exciting to watch, but part of me was like, I feel like I've seen this story.
Right? This happened kind of in real life.
Can you imagine if news broke? I mean, it seems like news is going to be breaking soon about some stuff, but if it broke that we got some live footage of Donald Trump with a chillin' in Mar-a-Lago by the pool, and he's looking into the chillin' blood. Like I was just like, wow, this is just Crazy. He tricks the Berlin guy. The Berlin guy's like, I'm going to absolve him of his crime. And what does Dumbledore do about it? He's just like, hey,
Just
Newt, can you go tell the guy to do the right thing instead of
right.
doing what's easy? Okay, anybody can tell. Like, I agreed with him. He's like, Dumbledore's too good to come down here. It's like, kind of seems like he is, man. Like, he should have come down here.
Yeah,
So
I don't know.
strange.
It was just weird. And also, like, no one really cared to protest or riot or whatever about this.
We don't see it.
We don't see it, at least. I mean, there could have been, but in the movie, at least, we don't see anyone protesting him just clearing all the charges. Like, it's just, I'm like, how's no one?
I'm about to call that Prime Minister Rudy Giuliani.
Right?
Because he's like, the people are like, are you insane? You can't have Grindelwald on here. And he's like, you don't think I know that? Why don't we let the people decide? Let's let them vote. If he loses, then it's all fine. And it's like, oh, I know where this is going now. Yeah. He's not going to lose. But even that, I didn't follow it. And so essentially what he does is he takes this dead Chillin that has been dead for days at this point. I don't know how long. I don't know what the deal is with these magical creatures. I don't know how to care for magical creatures.
I don't either. But, I need to take the class.
He takes it into another sauna. He's got another pool in his basement, and he just like walks around in the pool with it. I saw blood in the water.
I did too.
And then he walks out, and the thing's alive. I think. I don't even think you see it in that scene. I think it's later on they bring the thing up to the altar or whatever. But I'm like, what did he? Voldemort should have taken a note from Grindelwald if he's looking about how to not die, how to come back from the. Did he just bring this thing back to life?
Something. I don't know what he did, but if there's some magic powers or healing powers or what in that pool that he was in,
right?
But
hey, maybe so. Some bath salts, maybe.
Maybe I don't know, but that was weird.
The Borgin and Burke's bath bomb. That's the 4B.
Yeah, because that's when he finds out there's a twin, that there's another deer, and that's when he goes after Credence. He's like, "Is there another one?" And he didn't tell me. And
he's like, "I don't know."
He's like, "Yeah," because they didn't know that there was a second.
Know,
yeah. So he really was telling the truth. He did not know.
Well, Grindelwald is not good at telling the truth, and that's because all he does is lie.
Yeah,
he's a perpetual liar, so it's hard for him to see when people are lying to him. But yeah, so the plan now is we're going to have this election, and apparently it's in Bhutan, which is where the election is held. Again, I told you,
why
sounds like voter suppression. How does okay, you've pointed this out, and we'll get to it too. You thought that everyone shoots their wands up as a vote. There's a lot of magical questions about that. So what? Who's recording the wand burst? I took those bursts as celebration, and if so, then how do you vote? And they say, oh, the vote is only in Bhutan, but I see people apparating in, right? They go to the bridge and then they'd apparate up. But then he's like, well, what we're doing is this ancient tradition and I like this. I thought this was cool. The Chillin chooses who it is because they will see the pureness of heart. And now you get to the spot of Grindelwald has rigged the election to have a dead Chillin, which is so creepy. I mean, you kind of know it anyway, but to see that little guy walking around,
it was
knowing
so
that,
sad.
it was like,
and then when the other one came out and was trying to call for its brother, and he can't hear you.
What does Newt say? He said something like,
he's like, he can't hear you or see you, or
I think he says, but on some plane he does.
He does.
Which
I was just like, oh, I don't need to cry anymore.
You want about the plot. There's a lot that doesn't make sense in this movie, but I thought the writing was really good. Like these scenes were really emotional. And so they end up having the right box that has their Chillin in it, and that Chillin gets up, doesn't even walk towards Grindelwald. Well, actually, no, it does, right? It kind of walks toward Grindelwald.
I think probably just checking out the scenery, seeing who's around.
And then it goes down into the crowd and it bows to Dumbledore. And Dumbledore goes, whoa, no.
No thanks.
Go talk to someone else. And then it goes and bows to, I think, Santos, I think was her name. And so then she becomes the new, president of wizards, witches and wizards. So good for her, I guess. What I liked, too, they showed the celebration when Tina is watching it on the TV. And Santos is there. And she's got this, she almost looks kind of disappointed. And I was like, that's the vibe that, I loved that for her, because if I was in her shoes, putting on a really long election and then having him take it only to get it back, I would have been pissed. I don't even care if I'd have won. I'd have been like, this was a sham, and we need to make sure this never happens again. So,
Yeah.
and that's what we saved the day. And so Queenie and Jacob decide to get married again. I guess their differences were worked out outside
Who
of this.
knows how much time was passed? I don't know.
She probably took him to Hogsmeade, and that, you know, honestly, you go to Hogwarts and you forget about a lot of stuff.
You
Get a little butterbeer in him. Yeah. Okay. Part of that too, and I forgot to bring this up. She gives him a love potion in the last movie.
Mm-hmm.
That whole, I still am convinced that they did not know what to do with her character, because who in their right mind would be like, the only way that I'm going to get this person to love me is if I give them a love potion.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they already told me that they love me and that they wanted to marry me. Oh, I know who does that sort of thing. Teenage girls at Hogwarts in year 6, Jaylynn. Yeah. Come on.
Or Voldemort's mom.
And again, he's just so forgiving.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude, man, I don't know. That's a couple of red flags right there. Like, in one movie, she drugged you and then went to work for Grindelwald. That's...
Yeah.
Yikes. Hey, he likes him on the dangerous side.
I guess.
That's fine.
I guess.
But yeah, so that's the film. It ends with this cute little wedding in the shop. And we see Dumbledore tell Newt, you know, great job. I was still waiting for him to say it at one point, like, Newt, I'm going to have to ask you one more time, right? To do something for me one more time. Because all he ever does is ask people to do stuff for him. But I love that Newt has the Stockholm syndrome. Mm-hmm. And he said, hey, if you need me again, all you got to do is ask. Calm down. But hey, I'd have that too if it was Dumbledore and he, you know, was complimenting me. He gave out so many compliments in this movie.
He does. Maybe that's why the deer bowed to him, just because he's good at giving compliments.
He is. So. He's good at we love a guy with good recognition. Yes. But yeah, and then that's the end of the movie. So the question remains, what's next? So originally, Warner Brothers, and this will be, we'll wrap up with this. So Warner Brothers announced at the very beginning of all of this that this is going to be a 5-movie story, which blew me away at the time because I was like, 5 movies of brand new content? That's awesome. And we got to the first movie, and I was like, this is cool. I'll dig it. Same with number 2. Even with this, though, now I'm like, what is even next? Mm-hmm. Like they went in so many. You got a movie that's about the Fantastic Beasts, but then actually this is a movie about Grindelwald and Dumbledore, and that's your second movie. But this isn't even about Newt, and now it's even less about Newt, and sort of is about Newt. So it's like, what do we even need? And that's what I'll ask you. What are the things that we missed in this movie? What do we need? 2 more movies? Do we only need 1? And if so, what is in that movie that's going to make it the movie that you want to go to the theaters to see?
Yeah, for me personally, I think just 1 more is enough. I don't necessarily think you need 2 more just because of how this movie ended. I feel like the next direction they go to is continuing Dumbledore and Grindelwald's story because there's a big history there. We know that Dumbledore defeats him and then that's how he gets put in jail. So like, I want to see that. Like, I want to see that big duel that they have and you know how all that went down because I believe that's on his chocolate frog card, that little tidbit that he defeats.
So there's still a big duel to be had.
So there's still a big duel. So it wasn't this one that they had in this movie.
Right. Which was still, I thought was still a pretty big, I mean, there were some big bursts of light from
there was. So something else happened in their history. So I honestly, I would think I would just want them to continue that story rather than just bringing in a whole new story. Like just continue on with this and end it with Grindelwald in jail and Voldemort finding him. Like, and then that ties into Harry Potter.
Okay. I like that. Yeah, you could even I like that a lot because you could have it where the end of the movie he gets captured. And then there's an after credit scene of Voldemort coming to him because it would be 50 years or so later that he was.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of get a little piece of it in Harry Potter, but I mean,
you see him for like one. I'm trying to even remember. Isn't he? Is it a famous? Let me check. Because I feel like it was a famous person who played him in the movie.
Yeah.
Which movie was that? Was that in the first Deathly Hallows?
I think it was the first one.
Okay.
Yes. And it's just like a quick scene,
right? It's
like
just
a flashback type scene, or like Harry looking into his mind scene, I believe.
You're right. No, you're right. It was that he's in his mind and he goes to kill Grindelwald.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, which I wonder, is that the sixth one?
I can't remember.
I don't either. And I know is there anything more you wanted to say about that final fight? We didn't necessarily skip over it, but essentially, they fight, and I liked his explanation because I was like, oh, so basically he goes to kill Credence, Grindelwald, and both Albus and Aberforth shoot their wands at him as well, and so all three of their wand tips touch. And they're taken. The two of them, not Aberforth, are taken to like the mirror dimension. And he explains afterwards that Grindelwald was trying to kill, and he was trying to protect. And so neither of them were trying to hurt each other, and that's why they got the opportunity. Which again, I was kind of like, okay, because I feel like as he's shooting his wand, Dumbledore's probably like, this is my moment, which would make him, die, right? Because he's thinking about it. But
I don't know. And when they're fighting each other in the mirror dimension, that's what we're just going to call it, because I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah, they don't.
You never see Grindelwald shoot green at Albus. Like there's no, at least that I can remember. It was all red. So
that's a great point.
Was only aiming to kill Credence for whatever his reasonings was. He was never really trying to kill Albus, except with his words with "no one's going to love you again," but clearly you still do.
Oh, Michael Byrne. Okay, so Michael Byrne and Jamie Campbell Bower were played young and old Gellert Grindelwald. I'll see if they're in anything. He played, you may know him. He was a bad guy. He was one of the German bad guys in Last Crusade, Indiana Jones.
Oh,
he was like one of the older guys. But then, and then Jamie Campbell is. Oh, he played Caius in Twilight.
Yes. Now, I can now see that.
Right, it's just him popping out of the window when he's got the wand or whatever.
Yeah.
There we go.
I remember that now.
I'm always a sucker for lightsaber fights, wand fights, anything power related that's CGI. I love those fights, and I thought this one didn't disappoint. Though again, it leaves even more questions of, like you said, what was the whole point of even having Credence if he was planning on killing him? Which was, again, he probably was just using him as a tool.
Right.
And once he finally got what he needed, he got rid of him. But so I agree with you when going back to the future films. I need to know what's next with Tina and Newt, because it sounds like they're already married in real life. So how do they got to make up for that? That would be half of the movie, and then the other half of the movie is Dumbledore and Grindelwald, because all we need is one more fight. We've had 3 movies now where Grindelwald gets away at the end. So literally the end scene is him getting away in each of the 3 movies. So we need to get him caught. He can't keep slipping through these fingers.
No, because you can't change that history. You can't change that moment in Harry Potter that he doesn't get caught, because that's a big moment for in Harry Potter. So,
but it needs to be emotional, and I think that's the piece that I want Mads Mikkelsen to have because of that. Because he gets mad. Like if you've seen him in Casino Royale, and he kind of gets that way in Doctor Strange, but he can put on some angry stuff, and I could see him getting super upset at Albus for betraying their love, betraying their trust, and really expressing his love for him through anger. I think would be really, really cool to see in some insanely badass fight.
Right. That's what I'm looking forward to. If Warner Brothers is listening, that's what the movie needs to be.
What about Jacob being actual magic?
That'd be cool if
or
he
like
turned
the
out.
fact that maybe he isn't, but he can learn it.
Maybe there's squibs. I mean, do you have to be a magical person to learn it, or can he learn from the quick spell?
That would be cool. Maybe we'll get Ryan Johnson to direct this next movie, because anybody can become a wizard.
Right.
No, I'm fine with David Yates. He can stay.
Yes.
I thought that was great. I agree with you, though. I don't think, based on what I've seen, we do not need 2 more movies. We only really need 1. I mean, they could have probably compressed all 4 of these into a really cool trilogy. But again, that's just the problem with Warner Brothers and Sony, same wave. Sometimes they don't know what they have until it's there. And even with this, they announced like, well, we're waiting to see how this movie does before we move forward with the next one. And to me, that's like,
I'm like, well, then you should have written this one better, like had a better ending,
Exactly.
I
Make it
mean,
to where if you're that nervous, have a solid ending on this. That
uh-huh,
way you don't, okay, kind of like with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
yeah,
Or you just regardless of how they do, they should say, fine, we're going to give you one more
one
movie,
more.
wrap this up.
Yeah.
And perfect, make a great movie, and it'd make a killing, and then they'd be like, wait a minute, maybe we could go back to the Wizard, and it's like the cycle repeats
It
itself.
just never
It
ends.
never ends, which I don't know if that's a bad thing, because something magical about going to see a Harry Potter movie
It
in
is.
theaters.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I want more, but I'm like I said, I'm okay with just one more to wrap it up. And hopefully they just do it regardless how this movie does. I think this movie had a lot going against it, unfortunately. But if they make another one, who knows what the drama or whatever would be around
Yeah, there's
that
always going to be
one.
a little bit
But
of that. Yeah, but we love that here at Comics and
yes.
Cinema. So, any final thoughts on the movie, Jaylynn, before we close out?
Um, Again, I really liked it. I've only seen it once, so this could all change once I see it again if it comes to HBO sometime. But I think it's my favorite one out of the three.
Okay,
But that's just after a first viewing just a
that's
couple
fair.
days ago, so it's fresh, in my mind. But right now, I think it's my favorite one out of the three.
Yeah,
Where
I
it
have
ranks
to.
among all the Harry Potters, I don't know.
Oh
But
yeah, don't even ask me how. I mean,
yeah.
honestly, I think all three of these films are like at the bottom, and then
Mm-hmm.
all the Harry Potter movies are above that. But it's tough because and I like that. Like I could just watch all three of these movies back to back, and I'd be
Mm-hmm.
fine with it. Like I don't. It's hard for me to say which one I like more or less, but I feel like if I watch them more, I'll probably have a better answer for that. But I guess
Mm-hmm.
that's a topic for whenever that hopefully fourth movie comes out. So
Right.
Jaylynn, thank you so much for coming on tonight and talking about this. This was great. Glad to have another Harry
Thanks
Potter
for
nerd in my
having
life.
me. I can always talk Harry Potter.
Yes, awesome. Well, great. Hey, to everyone out there, thank you guys so much for listening. This is Comics and Cinema. I'm your host, Alex Klein, and we will see you